I would like to call this regularly scheduled City Commission meeting to order. It's Monday, July 23rd, 2018. It's now 7 o'clock p.m. If everyone would please rise and join us in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. This evening, we're joined by Pastor Edwin Brinklow, and he will be delivering the invocation this evening. Welcome.
Please join me in prayer. Holy and loving God, we ask your blessing upon these individuals who have answered the call to service for this community. Please bless them with gifts from the power of your Holy Spirit through creativity, inspiration, and just above all, the concern of the welfare for your people, particularly in this community, the city of Buchanan, Michigan. And please bless their efforts this evening during their meeting. Bless their discussions and bless their decisions. And whatever is said and whatever is done, may all be for your glory. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. And with that, we're on agenda item number 3, roll call.
Mayor Hess,
Here.
Commissioners Bianski,
Yes.
Turney,
Here.
Moore,
Here.
Cole. Here. You have a quorum.
Thank you. It's now time for public comment. Citizens are allowed up to 3 minutes to discuss any agenda item. Please come to the microphone and clearly state your name as well as your address.
Hello, I'm Randall Pitt from West Chicago, 312 West Chicago. And I was wondering where it is possible, if it is possible, to get a copy of the check register each time, because in the consent calendar you have just a list of numbers, and it doesn't mean much by itself. And since we're spending $500,000 this time, I'd like to see what it's all about.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody? Is
Yes.
it possible?
Yeah, Randall, we can make that available to you ahead of the meeting.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay, and with that, we will close public comments. And with that, we'll move on to item 5, consent calendar. Commissioner Turney?
Just a short question. I know we made an amendment to the consent calendar, and I see the check 77298, and the new check is 77300. Was there a check of 77299?
Yes. Yes, there was. It was made out to the last Saturday on the common people, and it was written out to the wrong person. So
Okay.
check, what was it, 77299 was voided, and this evening we're approving check 77300.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay. I need a motion to accept the amended consent calendar.
I'll make the motion that we accept the amended consent calendar.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Okay. Commissioners Cole,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Turney,
Yes.
Bianski,
Yes.
Mayor Hess.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. And with that, item number 6, report by departments, committees, and boards. We had 2 items this evening, but they have been rescheduled for a later date. With that, we're moving on to item number 7, unfinished business. This evening, we have no unfinished business. Item number 8, new business. We're on letter A, purchase a Toro Z Master 5000 series model number 75955 lawnmower in the amount of $9,745.92. did you want to make any comments about that?
Hey, Mayor, Commissioners, in our briefing, or our discussions regarding the development of the budget, this was one of the requests put in by the cemetery group to add an additional mower, actually replace one of the mowers they're presently using out there with this mower, which is similar to the other new mower that we purchased. This mower has the capability of, what do I want to say?
Mulching or mulching or?
Mulching, sorry. Thank you, mulching. And the ability to mulch out there is, we found a real benefit in that we're not throwing grass and things all over the headstones, which we in turn then have to go back and blow off. And again, there's 9,000 headstones out at the cemetery, 44 acres of property to mow. This unit also has actually a little better deck than we purchased on the first one. First mower we bought had 3 wheels to support the deck. This has 6, and it'll greatly reduce the scalping that does go on. That out there, we do have a lot of unusual terrain that we go over, bumps and things that we end up sometimes scalping with the other mower. So this unit has that ability, has a little better suspension than the other zero-turn mower, and if you've ever used a zero-turn, they are kind of rigid on your body when operating, and again, with the terrain out there, it offers a little better suspension for our employees to ride on. So I'd like you to consider the purchase of this unit from Mid-County Lawn and Garden for the sum of $9,745.92.
Commissioner Moore has a question.
Well, actually, I would like to make that motion to approve that, but I wanted to comment that as a representative of the cemetery group, that is one of the key complaints and causes of the deterioration of the headstones and why so many of them need cleaning periodically, because the biomaterial gets accumulated on those. So, I mean, I think this is really going to help the appearance of the cemetery, save labor, and just going to be a safer unit. So I'm making that motion that we approve this.
May I have a
Support.
Okay, thank you. Roll call, please.
Commissioners Cole,
Yes.
Bianski,
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Moore,
Yes.
Attorney,
Yes.
Mayor Hess.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Item number B, or item letter B, excuse me, first reading ordinance number 2018.08/408, amend zoning ordinance map 509 Rynearson from C2 commercial to R1A and R1B single-family residence as recommended by the Plan Commission. This is a first reading of this ordinance, and I'm required by law to read it, and then we'll get a little discussion about this. Amendment to the zoning ordinance official map, City of Buchanan, County of Berrien, State of Michigan. An ordinance to amend the zoning ordinance of the City of Buchanan in the official zoning map. The City of Buchanan ordains, Section 1, the zoning ordinance of the City of Buchanan being ordinance number 154, Section 302, as amended, and its official map is hereby amended as follows. The property commonly known as 509 Rainier Street and legally described as, and it's a lot of numbers, commencing 769.17 south, 89 degrees 50 east of northwest corner of Section 36, Township 7S, Range 18W, thence south 89 degrees 50 east, 293 thence, south 0 degrees 19 west 34 thence, and 89 51 30 west 71.95 thence south 0 degrees 0830 west 33.8, thence S 89.51.30, east dot 71, east 71.85, thence south 0 degrees 19 west 266.2, thence N 65 degrees 45 west 419, thence north 2910, east 186.45 to point of beginning. And the tax parcel ID number is 11-58-0036-0254-06-2, now zoned C2 Commercial District, to be rezoned R1A and R1B Single Family Resident District. Section 2, the zoning administrator is hereby directed to amend the official zoning map of the City of Buchanan to reflect the above change and to duly note on said official zoning map said change pursuant to this ordinance. Section 3, the ordinance shall become effective August 28th, 2018, and published in accordance with the charter of the City of Buchanan, and it will be adopted on the 13th day of August 2018. Deborah, did you have any comments for us this evening about this? And thanks for everybody hanging in there with me while I read all that.
Mayor and Commissioners, know you did a great job. The 509 Rynearson, as you know, has come before you in the past. The last rezoning request that we had was to zone it from commercial, rezone it from commercial to industrial for a medical marijuana grow facility, and that was not successful. Brian Opfer is the gentleman who has an option to purchase the property. He wants to use it as a single-family residence with a large workshop because he likes to build boats and things like that. It would all be inside the building. We did have a public hearing at the Planning Commission meeting. No one spoke an objection to this. He did verify that there will be no commercial use, no retail, and actually a single-family residential use and zone is the most restrictive zone that we have. So it's an assurance that the parcel will be used as a residential parcel. And as you know, it's had sort of a storied history, and since Clark left, it hasn't really been used for much of anything. So we thought perhaps it was a great opportunity to get it into residential use that's compatible with the neighborhood to the south. And what we're doing tonight is the first reading of the ordinance. The zoning ordinance just requires a majority vote, but our charter requires a first reading and a second reading. So at our next meeting, I will have all of the backup, my staff report, and the official information that was submitted, and the Planning Commission recommended unanimously for approval. And in my staff report, you know, I have answered those questions, and my recommendation was the same. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. You have to excuse my cold.
Anyone? All
Okay,
right.
thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. All right, and with that, we can move on to item C. Resolution 2018-08172, Best Practices Committee, and elect appoint second representative to this committee. Did you want to talk about this, or do you want?
Mayor, Commissioners, as you know, Mayor, we received an invitation from the Michigan Great Southwest Strategic Leadership Council, which is the Best Practices Committee, to join that committee. It's made up of multiple jurisdictions now, along with people from education and other business related concerns. And it is an opportunity for the city to represent itself among other cities in having discussions about common concerns. I think a little example would be the most recent action by this group was to collaborate on a letter to the Department of Transportation to help support the extension of 31. to complete that construction that's been going on since, I think I was in elementary school. That's one of the topics, kind of a short example of what they try to take on. And they do it as a unified effort. And and those letters, that collaboration, cooperation goes a long way with the state and the federal government when it comes to directing financial resources to projects. Again, it's just not about those projects, but other issues that may come up amongst their conversations. I think one of the issues I hope they take up is something that you saw in your briefing about the water situation, the lead and copper new regs that we have to live under, and the kind of the unfunded mandate that the state has put at our doorstep that would be a good conversation point for this group to get an understanding with the state where they were coming from and make the request that some funding come our way as well as other communities' way to take on that responsibility they kind of dumped at our doorstep. So I really think this is a great opportunity for us to mutually connect with our neighbors and all the communities across the county.
Anyone have any questions? Carla?
Bill, are you automatically on that committee and we're just asking for one more person, or?
No, and I'll go into that. The bylaws and direction would be the mayor would be the first representative on that, and then a second designee, which I would suggest a alternate commissioner be assigned. I can attend not as a voting member, but as information source to the group and help bring stuff back. But looks like they meet every other month.
Yes.
Yeah, I believe that's what it was. So I think the commission would have a discussion. Mayor, I don't know if you have a selection or however you want to do it, but we would need an alternate. At least they asked for an alternate to be considered, so.
Okay, and you'd have to be available during the day. I believe the meetings are on Monday mornings
Yeah,
at
the
9.
meetings are during the day, so that's
8:30.
part of the,
8:30?
that's part of the odd
Okay.
situation with it.
Do we have a volunteer?
I'll volunteer.
All right. I move that we join.
question.
Oh, yes, go right ahead.
If I'm approved, can you just send me a calendar of the,
Yes.
with the time
Yes.
and day so I
Yes.
can mark my calendar?
All right, great. I move that we pass Resolution 2018-08/172, Best Practices Committee, and elect and appoint a second representative to our committee, which would be Dale Turney, and I would be the first representative to this committee.
And I will second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Commissioner Turney,
Can I vote on that, or, because it's, yes,
Commissioner Viancy,
Yes.
Commissioner Moore,
Yes.
Mayor Hess,
Yes?
and Commissioner Cole.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Great. And with that, we're on item D, select attendees to the Michigan Municipal League Conference.
Mayor, Commissioners, annually, we budget for at least 2 people to attend these conferences. There's 2 a year. Michigan Municipal League, who is basically our voice in Lansing, puts these on. They're very educational, a lot of topics, and as you see, the items that are offered this year are pretty interesting. Actually, this year they have MSU Extension is putting on a citizen planner session, which is very interesting. And I think there's 6 parts to that program, I believe, Deb, is that right? It helps create planning ideas into the zoning of the community. So it gives you some background on that. Again, we budget, again, there's two conferences a year. We at least budget for 2 people to attend that. Traditionally, it's been the mayor and myself, but again, that's open for your information, discussion, and selection.
Commissioner Cole?
I'd like to make a motion that we send Bill and our Mayor Brenda Hess to the MML conference for this year.
I will second that.
Okay. Roll call, please.
I'd like to ask a question first.
Go right ahead.
Did we send Carla and Bill to one before you became mayor?
Yes.
I would like a report, since we send the mayor and we never got a report. Did we send somebody last year to either one of them? I'd like a report.
I have given reports in my commissioner's comments.
Well, I never
But I
heard
can do
nothing.
something more formally. That's fine. Yes, absolutely.
I mean, it's 3 days, and there's all kinds of stuff that you pick up that you could hand out too. And since we don't go as individuals, I mean, I'm seriously thinking about paying to go for myself, but I don't know. There's all kinds of things that could be passed on because we are all commissioners. And I think we really all need the training. That's my only comment.
Okay. All right, roll call, please.
Commissioner Moore,
Yes.
Commissioner Turney,
Yes.
Commissioner Cole,
Yes.
Commissioner Viancy,
Yeah.
Mayor Hess.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. And with that, we're up to public comments. Citizens are allowed up to 3 minutes to discuss any non-agenda item. Make sure when you come to the microphone that you state not only your name, but also your address.
Norma Ferris, 304 North Oak. I would like to know when, month and year, we will have some new traffic signs. We have driver training lesson, and you can't see the sides because they're so faded. When?
Yes, we've been discussing that. Well,
Norma, can you maybe be specific?
More specific, I would like to know when you are going to update them or at least put signs up so people driving, especially new drivers, will know what they say. When you've got a parking and it has, what does that mean?
Well, the signs aren't necessarily faded, it's just that,
They
They're
are
hard
not
to interpret.
readable.
okay.
Stop signs are faded.
Oh, okay.
They aren't even anything that recognizes red. That's what I'm asking.
okay, thank you.
One more, Mayor.
Randall Pitt, 312 West Chicago. I'd like to know if there's somewhere I can access the minutes of Bob where they were discussing the various parks, and I think they even had some tours. I couldn't make it that time, but I can't find the minutes. And I can, of course, go and see Commissioner Moore, but that's one thing. Because one thing was, there was a letter in the paper this week from a resident who complained about the condition of the Mars Farm site coming into town on River Street, and said it could be bought by the city and made into a nice riverside park that Buchanan needs. Well, actually, Buchanan has a nice riverside park that has been neglected, which is the North Redbud River Park. And we all know there's quite a lot of work to do there. But there is an event coming up on the 11th of August for the Lions to have a boat launch there for maybe a lot of people to go up the river and do a charity event. So, any suggestions?
Respond.
Yes, go right ahead.
Yes, the minutes are being worked on right now, and we did bring up your concern at the last meeting. The determination is the cause of the washing out of that road, which is severe, is really the coming from the county's inability to, like you told us, to handle the flow off the road.
On the,
So doing any repair work on the lower end doesn't seem to be very feasible. So our motion was at that meeting to direct the chairman of the board, which is a new person, Ashley, to write a letter on behalf of the organization to the road commission that handles that drainage issue, to see if we can't up it in their priority list. So I think, finding out like when that, I'm not sure when that letter is going to be sent or how soon it'll be composed. But that would be a great time for other people to join us in applying pressure to the county to help address this, because it is severe and you only get so much soil. And when you do wash out, it is very costly to try to repair something that ultimately will probably just wash out again if they don't do the real fix. So I appreciate you bringing that issue up, and you're very correct. That is a serious problem.
the real fix, as you say, was some drainage system that
Right.
gets past the road instead of going over the road.
Exactly.
We're right on the edge of Moccasin Bluff, and water comes pouring down there.
So there's
Right.
multiple areas that they could be addressing.
Would that be city? Since
No,
city
it's the
property?
county, it's a county road board that the letter's going to be directed
Well,
to.
They're very pleased to have a boat launch there, obviously.
Yes, I mean, I agree with you. It is underutilized park and it is under developed park. So
Used to be
hopefully
a,
we can do something
used to
about
be
it.
a nice wooden sign at the top of the
Yeah.
drive where you go down, but it slowly decayed and finally fell off and hasn't been repaired.
Yes, I agree. So
Thank
thank
you.
you for your
Thank you.
your comment.
Cindy Benson, 212 Cecil Street. I want to say thank you to whoever it was that put those markers on the McCoy Creek Trail, E whatever. It shows me how far I've walked with my dog. And it's wonderful to realize, good grief, I've been walking more than a mile with that. So that felt good. But there is a problem with that right there at Bainton Mill, it's beautiful. That water area down in there is absolutely beautiful, but you can't see it from the viewing area. It's the trees down
Down
on the
below.
edge block it so much that you can't see the beauty of it. And someone has been along there and worked on it, and I appreciate what they did, but you still can't see anything, and it would be nice to be able to see that.
Yeah, I agree with you, Cindy. I know that the trail actually developed the ideas of the mile markers.
It's wonderful.
Along the trail. That's really good, and it's coordinated with the 911 system, so. And then the issue with the overgrown brush and weeds down at Baton Mill. There is a company whose name is on the sign that will,
Oh, that maintains it?
yeah,
Okay.
that maintains it. And I know the church down at the Rose Street Water Garden next to the tin shop, they've got a work session coming up on the 28th to go down and work down on the Rose Street garden.
They
So
have been
I'll-
working back in the
Yeah,
back
yeah.
toward the mill, and that's
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah, and I'll check to see if the Baton Mill group has a scheduled work session. If not, we'll get some city employees down there to open it up a
Kind of a
little bit.
dangerous place to actually have to clean up because it goes straight
Yeah.
down.
Yeah, it,
So, but it would be nice.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Cindy.
Sean Dennison, 506 Middleton Court. So last year, I really wanted a new lawnmower. Like, I I really wanted it. My wife didn't want me to get it, but I really wanted it. And I was this close. And then our air conditioner went out. So I had to choose between whether I wanted a lawnmower, which I wanted, or the air conditioner, which I needed. The reason I'm telling you this is because in May, you all agreed to spend $180,000 to straighten the jog at Red Bud and Fourth. And then this month, a necessity popped up and you spent $133,000 on a new bucket truck, which I get, things happen. And I've bought those kind of trucks myself. I know that's a fair price. But it would seem prudent to me to spend the money on what you need rather than on what you want. So I guess two things. I would request again that you reconsider spending the 180 on the intersection. And then my question is, excuse me, on May 29th, I'd asked you to do that and maybe come up with a map and some data or some kind of information that people could look at for that intersection. And I'm just curious if, has anything been done or?
Yeah, Matt Green from Whiteman is here. We are tying up some loose ends with that project. Once those are done and we have a confirmed layout, we'll make that readily available to everybody. But, you know, we're kind of in the transition of putting that together right now, John, so.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right. And with that, we're up to item, let's see, number 10, city manager's comments.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners, audience. Again, I'm very happy, and I think somebody, Commissioner, will expand on my comments. I'm happy to see that the dog park opened this weekend. It's well, I think, well covered by the media. I did a little radio interview this morning out of St. Joe for it, so a lot of positive comments coming back. So very, very happy with that. Again, a couple of things kind of for the, in front of you is the wastewater project contract that showed up on Friday. There wasn't enough time to get it turned around for you to really act on it tonight, but I want to get this in your hands. It's 4 pages long. Randy has had a chance to review it, and the document you have is his submission back to the engineering firm and their response. So right now this contract is good to review for you. There's going to be 3 weeks between tonight's meeting and your next meeting. So I'm trying to get the engineer to let me know if that's enough time. He's willing to wait. We may call a special meeting after you've had a chance to look this over to approve it. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention again. It showed up on Friday. He apologized for a little bit of his tardiness, but we turned it around pretty quick, but not enough to give you a chance to really look it over for action tonight.
So what happened to the other contractors?
What happened to the other contractors?
Am I missing something here? We had a work session with one,
Davis?
Pearson, or is this something completely different? Am I missing something?
Yeah. This is the wastewater treatment plant. This is the oxidation ditch work, Dan?
So this is something completely separate from, this isn't the same thing as, this isn't working hand in hand out there as far as the wastewater and the oxidation and all that? Because, I mean, we've been getting a lot thrown at us, and I did miss the whole month of May, and I don't apologize for that at all. But,
This is, you approved the first phase, which was a smaller initial survey. One, the property was surveyed. 2, they did soil borings. They analyzed the soils that were present on the surface. They've looked at the protective covenants. They've had initial contact with DNR or MDEQ about what they can and can't do with the soils on the surface there. So
I had Yeah, I had
So they-
several going on. Okay,
Yeah, we've.
we're good. We're good. We're
Yeah,
good.
we've approved that, and this is the next step. And again, in the design build idea, this would be the next step.
No, we're good. I had a complete blank there, Bill.
No problem. Again, so in the design build, a lot of these will be coming back to you along the steps, and so, which is a very good thing for us to help monitor in that. And this will basically put the design on the drawing board, provide us with those details to be able to move forward, actually turn a shovel, I hope, after this. It also is going to be required for this engineering firm to seek those permits that we're going to need from MDEQ, which could take months to get going. So that's why I think, the sooner we can get this going, the sooner they can get that submitted to the MDEQ. So I'll see what their need and timeline is. I'll get back with you, and we'll see if you want to do
I do want to ask another question. I did get, I mean, there's been a lot going on the last 6 weeks of my life. We voted, and we even took a 5-minute break at the last meeting to up this, and that's part of this, right? Where we have the operator, you had the work session, that's part of this, or eventually that's going to be part of the wastewater plant, where we was going to upgrade. I mean, this is a continuation of that, or the beginning of that.
this is actually an upgrade to the wastewater plant, building the oxidation ditch.
So this is completely separate from the wastewater plant altogether? Not really?
No, it is a wastewater plant.
Okay. Well, last week, or last meeting, we had the work session, and we voted to upgrade so that we could take on.
Commercial waste.
Right.
Yes, that will be discussed and presented to this engineer to determine how feasible and what the cost is. He'll give us a ballpark on that.
So we're still going to have an opportunity to
Yeah,
shut
yeah.
it down?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely. So, yeah, that idea, that concept is being offered for review and consideration, and they'll get us some information back. So, again, you initially gave the go-ahead for more work to be done, and you'll get it back once we get more numbers to make a further decision on that. So,
Okay, anyone else? Okay, thank you.
I've got, moving on, I know I've been throwing a lot of work sessions at you. We did discuss about having a work session on the transportation issue, the county-wide transportation issue on the 26th. They're not available now, so I'd like to push that out, into like 2 weeks from now, to avoid the week of, August 6th through the 10th would be a window to arrange for a work session, or August 20th through the 24th would be another week to possibly get that work session together. And again, this is the presentation on the transportation plan that's been developed. I would like to push it out a little bit farther, giving us an opportunity to get the public involved and either have it in this room or maybe have it up at the senior center, if we can ask more of the public to come and listen to what transportation might look like in this area and in the county. So.
We normally would, it looks like the 2nd and 4th Mondays of August would be the 13th and the 27th.
Yeah.
Would anyone have an objection to either the 20th or the 22nd?
22nd would probably.
What specifically are we doing, though?
We'll be hearing from the people that are making efforts to merge all of the county transportation
Together.
into
We'd already
one.
voted on that, though, didn't we? As far as
Well,
No.
the dial-a-ride?
We voted to support the survey and the initial plan, but nobody has voted to combine their resources to make a countywide transportation system. This is just a review of the plan, the survey that they did. They came up with a plan, how one might look like, how a plan that they would probably recommend looks like. And that presentation, I think will take about 45 minutes to an hour. It's important for the public to understand and listen to it, as well as the
Is
commission.
Benton Harbor going to be allowed to exclude itself from any county plan?
No, they've been sitting at the table along with all of us.
Because initially they,
Yeah, initially they
Yep,
were not.
Initially, yep.
okay.
Again, initially,
Okay,
they
Commissioner
do that
Attorney?
often, but they're still at the table and they're still talking.
I think try to notify the public so they can be there, because then they can ask a few questions possibly and maybe some
'Cause
ideas.
I know Norma rides the service. A lot of people ride the service. We want to get that message out.
Okay.
And other community members to
Want to get a time?
come up and listen. The plan as presented, you'll hear little bits and pieces, but what we have presently, it will not be lessened whatsoever, and we'll be able to get outside of our small little footprint with weekly routes to Niles, St. Joe, Benton Harbor, New Buffalo. New Buffalo run along 12 would be like 3 times a week. Niles would be basically pretty much daily. And then there'll be a way your plan is to be a way to get to South Bend through our system. So that's important for Niles and ourselves down here, because a lot of our connection is South Bend area. So, and it, depending on their funding source, it could be less money than what we're paying. So that's pretty interesting.
I think people should know that we have one of the oldest dial-a-rides in the state of Michigan. Our dial-a-ride has been in existence for 40 years, so we have a good one, and it's well-funded, and it's our community's assets that we would be asking to, share with other communities. And this is a really important issue, and we would like to encourage as many people that can come. That would be appreciated. So what do we think about the 22nd? Could we set something up with the senior center, perhaps for 7 p.m.? Commissioner Viganski, can you make a meeting at 7? Is that early enough?
6:37 is always.
Okay, why don't we just round it up to 7?
Okay, I can't make it
on
on
that,
that night.
let you know.
That's the landfill meeting.
Oh, okay. How about Monday, the 20th?
20th works.
Okay. Does that work for you, Commissioner Viganski?
Yep.
Okay.
Same time?
Same
7?
time? And then can someone check with the senior center and see if that would can work out for them?
7 o'clock?
Yes,
20th.
yes.
20th, August 20th, 7 p.m.
I don't have my phone with me, but
Here's the way.
I think that's okay.
That's 2 of us.
All right.
Next quick little blurb is the DPW garage. We do have the quote from Pearson's for the pre-development work study. I contacted Majority Builders, spoke with the CEO there. He actually directed me to consider thinking about hiring a small independent architect which would do pretty much the same thing as a pre-development service for us. He did give me a recommendation for one in South Bend that they use a lot. Since that time, I've gotten another contractor's name, Acorn, Acorn or something.
Are they Elkhart?
Yeah, they must be a larger concern. Acon, thanks. Yeah, Acorn. But I haven't been able to call them today, but I am following up on that, trying to get enough options for you to consider here pretty quick. And So
They're very predominant in Elkhart. Majority is very predominant in South Bend, and in Pearson's pretty much the way that works.
majority would be very interested in bidding on the RFP once we get to that point. And so majority is recommending that we do a design build rather than a design build concept. So we'll see what else is out there.
There was a couple others I called you, excuse me, Your Honor.
No. good.
There was a couple others I know when they contacted you because I got,
Feedback?
right.
Okay, yeah, I talked to the contractor that did the fire departments. Yeah. He again wants to bid on the RFP, but didn't have the design work that he couldn't put that up front. So,
I think the other guy was just way too big, from what I read. Yeah.
so that's kind of where we're at with that. Probably a couple more items, but I can't think of them right now, so I'm good.
All right. And with that, we'll go on to commissioner comments. This evening, we'll start with Commissioner Cole.
Okay, thank you. I just want to talk a little bit about our grand opening for the dog park on Saturday morning, which was a huge success, even though we had rain that was hanging above us, waiting to let loose. We had 24 dogs, and I never counted the people, but I'm guessing we had at least 4 humans with the dogs. We had more people than we did dogs. So we had, I felt, for the kind of day that we started out, it turned out really well. The dogs gave their approval with all their excitement and running around and making new friends. I talked to many of the people that came with their dogs, and they are ready to come back again. They just loved our park area. I want to thank all the people who have given to make this come true and making a true community effort without using tax dollars. The Buchanan Masons, Dion, Kim, and Maria Bozes of Hilltop Cafe, the Scarecrow Charity, thank you for your donations and the benches to the park. Alice Kring and many others, and I apologize for not mentioning everybody, but we appreciate the $5, $2 to whatever that they have donated for the park. Thanks goes to Mayor Brenda Hess here for cutting of the leash and the kind words that she gave us. I think she had as much fun as the dogs did. Thanks to Jackie Lowe, Commissioner Pat Moore, James and Kara Russell, and Rich Lowe. Without their help, we would not have gotten to this point. They are part of the committee for the dog park. Thanks to Dawn Lott, who worked part-time for us to get the park area ready for us. And I was told as of today that our membership has gone to 725 people on the Facebook. So we're very happy, excited, and pleased that we finally was able to get the park open. And it was a delight to see the dogs. You know, the people come in through the first gate, they take the leash off, open the second gate, and they turn the dogs loose. They're all well behaved. There was no fighting. It was just, hey, who are you? And let's be friends. And they take off and run. And they actually sometimes divide up into different groups running around together, which I thought was kind of neat. That it's like little kids getting together and come on, let's go play. So I think it's a good thing. And so many people said can't wait till they come back. So I'm very, very happy with what has been accomplished. That's all I have.
Commissioner Moore?
Thank you, Carla, and thank you for all your work on the committee.
You're welcome.
The two of us worked hand in hand from the very beginning, so it's been really great to see it open, and especially before you have a chance to leave us. So that's been an extra incentive for us to get this completed. I wanted to add to your thanks. I mean, there's so many people that helped us.
A lot.
The original group included a Catholic nun, Sister Betty Farrar, and who went with us to the original Barb meeting, and under the chairmanship of Ron Dreitzler. So it's been quite a long time ago that we first sought to have the dog park in the 5-year plan for the park system. And several, the Zincs in the township donated some funds, and many of my patients would send checks in periodically, and all the people that bought flowers and bulbs and wrapping paper and Klondike bars and hot dogs and rummage stuff and everything that we try to peddle in town. I mean, it truly is a community thing, so. So I went actually after the opening back to the park to show someone where it was, because it is a little bit hard to find. So we are aware that we need to, be precise, and we're trying to make that better known. And the funny story I'll tell you quickly is I went there and there was nobody there but this little guy with his dog in the dog park with the dog on the leash. I'm thinking, okay, there's someone did not get this message. You know what this is all about. Okay. So I said, what are you walking your dog inside the dog park on a leash for? And he said, well, he was afraid the dog would never come back to him. So
Not going anywhere.
then another person came, and he wasn't sure if his dog would get along with other dogs, so he walked his dog inside the dog park on a leash. A third person comes in, they have their dog, and I mean, this is the grand opening's gone. There's no treats, there's no toys left, there's no anything. And so here, all of a sudden, there's 3 dogs following each other inside the dog park, all on a leash. Finally, I convinced them all. They all get along. Why don't you go over to the small dog area where you can gain confidence and take the leash off your pets? And they did it, and it was like a miracle. The dogs were running around like crazy. And then all of a sudden, a little puppy showed up. So then they all got kicked out of the small dog area and had to go to the big dog area. So, I mean, I think it's going to be really an attraction for the city and bring visitors. Several of the people there were from out of town. So I am just excited. I think it's something that I think we're going to be very proud of it, and we're going to work to make it better and better. So I just say thank you to everybody in the community, and thank you, Brenda. You did a great job helping us out. I want to talk about now, you remember last week I really couldn't talk last time, so now I'm taking double time tonight, so be prepared. The Thursday night concerts are really going well, so if you're not busy on Thursday night, come down to the Commons. We've got free music. We've got popcorn from Redbud Insurance. I mean, it's just beautiful nights that people, if they're on Facebook in their house, they're missing out on community stuff. The Splash Day at the park was a big success, and so many pictures on Facebook these events generate. It's all good. And that's the Stop Lunch and Listen program for the kids. And the firemen come down there. Everybody has a wonderful time. And we are getting great feedback from all of these events. Also coming up at the Tin Shop Theater, we have every summer we have a children's play that is performed by the children of this community and other communities all come together and they put on this performance, and it's fabulous. So the play is called Hocus Pocus, and the number to call to reserve your seat is 695-6464. And a lot of times when we sit up here, we're getting comments about graffiti and tagging, and someone's kicked out spindles out of the fencing somewhere, and someone else has climbed up and done something bad. This is a bunch of kids doing something good and productive and creative, and they've put hours of work into it. Let's celebrate it. Show up. Come to the plays. Come to their play. Applaud them. If we don't take time to support this kind of activity, we're going to end up with this other activity. So please, a lot of people try to work hard to make these events a success. The last thing I have is with the Friends of Oak Ridge Cemetery. That's another group that I'm involved with. We are doing research this month to make a decision whether or not we will have enough information to do a cemetery walk in September. But what we are looking for the community is to give us any kind of family stories you might have of your people who may have been affected, your family, who may have been affected by the Spanish flu epidemic in 1918. This is 100 years since this town suffered, along with many, many other towns in this country, a terrible, terrible disease that just wiped out people in the prime of their life, little children, older people. It just wiped out many, many, many people, and there was nothing to be done. So we would like to bring that up and talk about influenza and the effects, and maybe even the impact of the Civil War veterans in our cemetery at the same time. So if you have, passed through your family stories of what happened, or people, we are now finding some articles saying that at the time people were not even allowed to have a funeral if they had someone die from influenza. There was no funeral, because they could not take a chance in having a gathering of people. If they died of something else besides the flu, you could have your immediate family only at the funeral. This is our town that happened 100 years ago. That's not that long ago. So we still have risk of pandemic here in this day and age. So we would like to bring this up and tell these stories in a cogent way so that we can spread this public health message to let people know what our ancestors have gone through and how we can do something to fight that today. So those are if you have those stories, please drop them off at City Hall or call me or anything like that. Or call anyone on our Friends of Oak Ridge Cemetery Committee, and we'd be happy to get your information. So,
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Attorney?
Thank you, Mayor. Pat, that was a very interesting note. I think a lot of people forgot. I think it was 1/3 of the entire world died, something to that effect.
it's very, very serious.
Yeah, it was. It was in World War I was going on at that time too. That's a very interesting comment. I just want to give a little bit of reports here on the farmers market. I'm on that board. We had no meeting this month, so there was no information transacted. The Planning Commission, Deborah actually gave the exact thing that was happening there at the Planning Commission, so you got the report from Deborah. I also like to give a special thank to Michelle Holloway. By the Ross Sanders building there on the west side, I don't know if anybody's seen the flower bed that's been well taken care of. A lot of her volunteer hours and her own money. It looks beautiful. I don't know if you've seen it, Bill. I don't know if you've gone by there. Yeah. Well, she's the one that put in the volunteer hours. So I just want to say thank you to her. I actually reached out and gave her a note. So don't forget also the Thrill on the Hill is going to be August 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Hopefully we'll have some good weather. I think that'll be a big item here for Buchanan. And I think that's all I have to say, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Viganski?
Well, I'm sorry I've been grinning, but I've been trying to think pleasant thoughts so I don't throw a wet blanket. So I thought about the Saturday Night Live NPR skit. It was quite a few years ago, and I can't really even say out loud what they were, but it was quite hilarious, and that's basically what I'm thinking about right now. I did want to answer your question about the river. culvert has been discussed for 3.5 years. The river's been discussed for as long as I've been down here, but it's not a priority. And I can't go into what the priorities are. Norma, the signs, I got a list at home of everything I write down, and I've been writing them down for 3.5 years. But we've got things that got to be done. The $170,000, there's nothing you can do about it. It's that simple. That's all I got to say about it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Earlier this week, I received a letter from the Michigan Municipal League, and if you're like me, you're frustrated with roads pretty much all over our state. The Michigan Municipal League has actually reached out and done some work at the state level, and here's a report of 3 things that happened with road funding which are positive. And this is very recently. $300 million in additional one-time funding for the 2018-19 budget. Of this amount, $65.4 million will go specifically to city and village road budgets. Okay, that hasn't happened for a while. Number 2, $150 million of new money is expected due to the road funding package previously approved. This increase, combined with growth in gas tax and registration fees, will result in an additional $43.4 million for cities and villages. And number 3, $175 million for roads for the current construction season. This money came from leftover general fund dollars in the 2017-18 budget. Of this amount, $38.1 million is going to cities and villages for the current Orange Barrel season. So combined, that's nearly an additional $150 million for road work in your communities. Now, we all know $150 million to share with all the communities in the state is not a lot, but it's a small step, and I wanted to report some somewhat good news from the state. A lot of my time as a mayor is spent reading Michigan Municipal League articles and trying to stay on top of what happens at the state level, because so many times, you've heard me say it before, the state is really great at creating unfunded mandates. If you don't know what that is, that's when the state legislatures get a really great idea and then they tell us to do it, but then they don't provide any funding. It's very frustrating as a community leader to have all these rules and things, and then we just have to take money that should be earmarked for things in our community and do all these things that the state requires. But if you're ever interested, the city does pay for membership in the Michigan Municipal League, and what I like about them is their office is adjacent to the state capitol. It's kitty corner right up against the building, so I feel like they do a good job looking out for us, and it's hard work because, you know, there's always money and they don't want to pass it back to the communities, and where does their money come from? Buchanan, Galeen, all our little Southwest Michigan communities. So that was a little bit of good news. And with that, I'd like to go ahead. I need to move to adjourn the meeting.
I'll move.
Okay, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for coming this evening, everyone.